Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Big Bad Bench. Today, we're going to be working on this beautiful little piece of plastic right here. So this is a MacEffects clear case for a Macintosh SE or SE30. So these things are pretty, and they're blue. Well, they're all different colors and clear. But I bought a blue one because they were on sale during Black Friday. I think after shipping and tax and whatnot, this was like $180, which is pretty big savings compared to their normal prices. So this is cool. So we're gonna go over real quick how to transfer all your stuff out of a Mac. Oh geez, don't scratch the new case. Oh my God. How to transfer everything out of your old nasty Macintosh SE, and I'm wearing gloves because this is a nasty old Macintosh SE, and transfer it over into the new MacEffects case. Hopefully that yum was about Garth's blueberries in his oatmeal. Blue gloves, blue case, and blue SCSI. There we go. Although, if anyone in the crew happens to have access to Potato Fi's little thing and wants to print me out a blue version of one of these, that would be pretty sweet. Anyway, let's say hi to folks in the chat. We got Dave's Vintage Apple Tech. We got myself. We got Garth Beagle. We got Gut Bomb. Eric Helgeson. What's going on, folks? Yes, everyone's eating blueberry stuff this morning, and now I'm hungry because Dave talked about food. So, yeah. Okay, so what do we need here? We need our Torx 15-bit. If you don't have a particularly long Torx 15, you can use your extension if you have one of these iFixit kits. So this Macintosh SE is part of the Sour 16 that I bought back in March of 2022. So this hasn't really done anything. So yeah, it's been sitting around waiting for me to do something with it. So we got our Torx is loosened, and you can see this thing is not in the prettiest of conditions, which is why we're gonna take it apart and use it for something else. But like, I've seen the hook and loop on other computers before in like one little spot, or maybe to do the screen thing. I don't know why there's all this stuff on there, but in any case, okay, there we go. We got those two out. Crack the top open, and then generally I like to push on the ports, and that opens up our case. Hey, Chris Angelis, how's it going? All right, so now we got our system, and we have our little EMI shieldy thing, which we can probably throw away, but that one's not in bad shape, so we'll keep it just in case. So when I get these things, as you know, I like to do my Macintosh triages. One of the first things I do is unplug the floppy drives, because you don't want your floppy drives being activated, because if they have a cheese gear and if everything's not lubricated properly, you can sort of mess up your cheese gear even if you have sort of a decent one. So unplug our power now, and then maybe I mounted the SE under a shelf using Velcro. That would be pretty darn funny, Garth. Okay, so then there's little tabs here that sometimes get caught up. So you go this way a little bit, and then you pull this out a little bit like this, and then there's these little slots that come out of there. And then you unplug your speaker from here, and now your motherboard is free. Or your logic board, sorry, logic board. Okay, so now going to set our logic board aside. We're going to need that later. And now we need to start taking stuff off of here. So if you have a regular big screwdriver, don't use it. You need a slightly smaller. I think this is like a #1 size for these screws. These are coarse sheet metal screws. There. There. And Adam McG is here. How's it going, Adam? Okay, so we're going to take all these out. So there's 4 that hold the analog board to the metal chassis. Don't forget this little aluminum strip, or actually I think it's tin. And then what I'm gonna do, so now the analog board is loose. We're gonna do this, and oh yeah, that's really stuck. That's sticky and gross, and this is most likely already bled. Yeah, we're good. Now we can disconnect the neck board, and we'll disconnect the yoke right there. And that should be most of it. So now we can come back down this way, and we're gonna take off this screw right here. So I'm working fast here because we got to finish up before Dave's Vintage Apple Tech stream at 11. And plus I want to hang out with those folks. So, okay, so you don't necessarily have to disconnect the power supply, but sometimes it is a little bit easier if you do. You can also kind of like put some stress on here, but this whole thing comes off pretty cleanly all in one shot. And so what I'm going to do real quick is spray. Actually, this is nice and clean. The fan's kind of gross, but it's not too bad. So we'll just clean up the fan a little bit. Hey, Vic the Vicar, how's it going? So yeah, this thing is reasonably clean, so that's good. Kind of, oh no, yeah, that's all good. And as long as you don't have an Apple branded power supply, you typically don't need to recap your SE power supply or your analog board typically. Okay, so now that's out of the way, we can take the rest of the screws out of our screen. This monitor, if we look at it, or this CRT, is not super bad. You can see there is a little bit of burn-in. Let's do some cleaning. So one of the things you want to have ready when you go to do this project is a lot of paper towels ready to go. Because even if they're clean SE, they still have a lot of crap on them. They get really, really dusty. So the pluses and the 512s and that 128s typically aren't super dirty inside because they don't have fans, but the SEs do have fans, and so they're going to bring dust inside of your system. And Bacchus is here. Sorry I missed you, Bacchus. How's it going? All right, so yeah, if we look at this, we can see there's a little burn-in. It's definitely not the worst CRT I've ever seen. There wasn't, I mean, it was dirty. Obviously, they're all going to be dirty, but this was definitely not the worst CRT that I've ever popped off here. But let's clean it up because we're going to be sticking it in a nice, pretty new computer, and so we want it to look as nice as possible. So this SE is a well, according to the back sticker thing, it is a dual floppy 1 meg. But obviously the MacEffects case only has slots for 1 floppy. But this case is going to need some work, and I probably won't be able to get it cleaned up before next spring anyway. Okay, so our CRT is good. We're gonna stick this on a towel. And now we can go back to our big screwdriver and take out these screws for the floppy drive, or if you have a hard drive, These would also hold the hard drive. But yeah, when I first get an SE, the first thing I do is pop it open, unplug the floppy drives, and then check the battery. And so you want to make sure that the battery is gone, just in case it leaks. Normally the early SEs, the batteries don't leak. Yeah. We can see these floppies are not the cleanest ever, but we're not going to use these floppies today because eventually these are going to go back into a dual floppy SE. Okay, so now that we got this stuff off, I have no idea, Vic. I have not tried formatting any floppies with this particular Smith system. Yeah, those dual 800K floppies. Okay, and quick note, as I'm taking these apart, one of the things you'll be able to see is that these screws are this size, whereas the top two are this size. And so when we go to stick this back together, make sure that when you're putting the screws back in, all of these screws are the shorter ones. Okay, this thing's a little gross, so we're gonna do some cleanup of this thing real quick. Hey Francois, good morning. And K-Mac Vintage is here. How's it going, Will? Yes, rare Steve Jobs. Okay. All right, so you can see we've almost got this thing fully disassembled, and we're only about 12 minutes in, so we are flying right along here. Okay, so now what we need to do, we got these heat stakes. Oh, let's zoom in a little bit, that hold the, there we go, that's better. That hold the speaker in, and actually this speaker is in good condition, so that's nice. You don't want to have a nasty old speaker in your brand new blue case. There we go. Now our speaker's out. A little dusty, a little dusty. It's okay. Clean off our wire. It's about time for a new paper towel already. Ah, that's nice. Okay. All right, new paper towel. Okay, goodbye, old case. And I'm not going to throw this case away. Nobody get upset. I'm going to clean this case up. Next spring, we'll take it apart and do the retro brighting, make it look nice and pretty. Okay, so now we got this, our new front panel. And what I'm going to do, try to clean up the bench a little bit. Oh, just dropped a knife on my foot. There we go. That's what happens when you rush. Don't rush, people. Okay. Put a nice thing there. Oh, and this goes around this way. The anode connector should be there. Okay, so what we're gonna do first, actually, let's set this aside again for a moment. Gonna put a T15 tip in my big screwdriver, and I'm going to use these screws to sort of thread the holes before we start assembling it. always nice to have a little bit of a pre-bite to your screw as you're putting these things in. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you can see how all the screw holes are nice and smooth. But if you just run a screwdriver down or a screw down in there, you get your threads all set up nice before you start assembling this for real, for real. Yep, we'll be done in time for Dave's stream. And since these are new threads, make sure that you're like going down perfectly straight, because you don't want to stick these things in sideways and crack your brand new beautiful plastic. FedEx just delivered another Platinum 2E to Adam. Yes, if you're interested in these cases, go to MacEffects.com, and I think I have a link to their store in the video description today. One of the other things that I've gotten from them in the past are the floppy drive eject gears. So they're a great source of those. And, you know, MacEffects does a lot of cool projects for the vintage compute community. So it's always good to support these kind of businesses because they're doing new stuff for us. Okay. My arm's getting real tired now. And we'll use our long screws for the front one, for the top ones. Oh, the carpal tunnel's acting up. We're only got one more to go. Hey, Kai. Welcome. Ooh. Okay, so now all of our screw holes are pre-threaded. We're ready to start assembling this thing. And the first thing we're going to do is figure out, oh wow, the screw's actually hot. That's neat. Okay, so we're going to set that screw. That was one of the longer ones. We want to make sure we don't get them confused. So we're setting them over to a different area. Okay. Do this. Now what do we want to do here? I kinda want to just use some hot glue. And I also don't want to use hot glue. Let's see if I have, oh, 1 second, folks. Yeah. So these kind of nuts, they're like little sheet metal nuts. So they use them in like old the old IBM cases and stuff where you would often hold on like a little plastic lug. I have no idea what these are actually called and or where you could buy them. But yeah, that's perfect. So hopefully I have two. Yes, I have two. Oh, this one's gonna have to go on the wrong way. That's okay. Yeah, so if anyone knows what the heck these things are called, they are perfect to use on holding this speaker in. All that bass will rumble them out. I don't know, I think it's more likely the treble that's gonna run those out. All right, let's zoom out just a skosh. Zoom out. Okay, so that's good to go. We've got our CRT. That's good to go. Got our short screws and our T15. Oh, yeah, that's even hard. Even though I ran the thing through there, they're not super easy to get in. And as far as aligning these things go, you can kind of get it close on this side, get one sort of snug. There we go. And then do the opposite corner. You're gonna probably have to realign the CRT anyway using the various adjustments. So don't worry about getting it perfect here. Yeah, I should really have a blue CRT for this. Let's clean this off one more time. One thing I'll say is these cases are very staticky. My whole bench is grounded, and so this thing was sitting on my bench and it was just going. You'd hear it just like popping. So the brand new plastic is very staticky. So I wiped it down a couple of times with some Windex. Well, darn. Oh, a yellow phosphor would be neat. I don't know if I've ever seen a yellow phosphor CRT. Well, that's a shame, Eric. They were just on sale last week. I'm sure MacEffects would give you a deal. Well, no, I can't say that. I don't want to speak for MacEffects. All right. Now we got to get our chassis together. Just giving this one more. But yeah, it was sitting there and I heard it like the static popping, but also it was just like a dust magnet from all the static. It was just sucking up the dust that's around the BigBadBench. Okay, so let's put the rest of these screws back in. And I'm not tightening these up all the way yet. I'm gonna put them all close, and then once they're all close, then we'll tighten them down. And again, I don't know that this is going to be the SE that always lives in this case, but I definitely was not using that other SE, so this one will be a nice something to look at. Okay, so we have all 5 of those in now. So I'm tightening these up. This isn't one of the super early SEs because it has the hole here. Some of the really early SEs did not have an access hole for the slot. Okay, and I just want to double check. I think I tightened all these, but let's just double check that these are all tight. All right, so that part's ready to go. And so now what I want to do is I want to clean out this fan a little bit. So I don't want this thing blowing dust all over my brand new case. What is the difference in the expansion bracket? Just that it doesn't exist in the other one. Alright, that's pretty good. Now we'll come in with get that all soaked. We're looking nice. It's like brand new in there. Hey Steve, how's it going? Mac84 is here. Okay, so this is looking pretty nice. A little bit of dust up here, so let's clean that up. Okay. So we are about halfway, more than halfway through this process. Just want to clean up the wires. This isn't a super thorough cleaning, obviously, but it's going to look a lot better than when we started here today. Oh, K-Mac had a quick shower. I just hung out with a friend that spent many years in the Caribbean, and he's been back for about 3 years now, and he's starting to miss it. Okay. And while we have this open, let's clean our brightness knob. Oh, it's time for a new paper towel again. Ugh, these things, they didn't look super nasty, but they get dirty. And I think while we have this open, I'm going to hit some of these potentiometers with some deoxit. So there's a little bit of nastiness up in there. Oh, there you go. Work that around a little bit. Oh yeah, super clean. And we'll hit that one. And that one. Okay. So those should be good to go. Cleaning off my brightness adjustment knob a little. And we should be ready to stick the analog board back. Oh, and when you put, uh-oh, something locked up. There we go, we're back. So, stick this in like this. I'm aligning the top edge here with the, wow, it's hard to see. There's a little spot here, so keep that kind of aligned. Then you can pull the chassis out a little bit. Make sure that the whole analog board goes in where it's supposed to go. The problem with this you run into is that the power supply sort of starts hitting the CRT if you don't have it down far enough. And so it's why it's easier sometimes to take the power supply off as you're trying to put these things back together, but I'm gonna try to do it all in one shot here. Now we're gonna get the anode out of there. It's in our way. Get out of there, anode. Okay, got all of our stuff inside of our spots. And that should be pretty well aligned. Yeah. All right, cool. So again, we have these coarse threads. If you take off the power supply, those are fine threads. Gonna just stick one in for the time being. Don't forget this little thing down here, or else people on the internet yell at you. Okay. This one, so that'll be our last one there. And let's give this a little cleanup. Okay, getting real close now. So we're going to put our neck board on, our anode in, our yoke connector. Okay, and now the last thing here. All right, Adam, we'll see you later. Okay, our last screw, don't forget to put your grounding wire in. Things can get ugly. So that's good. Now, this floppy was one that I've worked on before, so this is technically not the same floppy that was in this computer, so we're kind of cheating, but we want to make sure we get this thing all done in time. Put our floppy, there's little tabs there that you can't see, and then there's 2 tabs here that kind of snaps into. Hey, micro hobbyists. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. How you doing this morning, Frederick? Go back to our regular screwdriver for these bigger screws with the fine threads. And again, when I put in screws, I typically put all the screws in first, get them close, and then once they're all there, tighten them down. New video for the 6809. Nice. Okay. So that's all those. So we're pretty much there. Gonna dust that off. I'm gonna grab one of these. Uh-oh. I hit a button. Are we still doing a thing? Okay, yeah, we're still doing a thing. Clean this cable off. All right. Put that cable in there. All right. And now also we're going to stick in our Blue SCSI V1 inside one of these potato phi things, adapter bracket thing. Oh, I didn't realize this is even nicer than I thought. He actually has nuts inside here. How awesome is that? So this little bracket lets you access your SD card slot. So this new case is from MacEffects. They had a Black Friday sale. So I know their fully clear one is normally more expensive than the other two, just because it's a much harder case to produce, I think, and to have it look good. So they had sales for their color ones, and this after shipping was like $180-ish. Which is a really good price for these things. Okay, so we have it all assembled except for the logic board. Okay, so where did our logic board go? I said I was going to stick it on the side, and there it is. Okay, as you can see, when I get these, I snip the batteries as soon as I get them. Even if they look fine, it's a good idea. Just be careful. Hey, Triple I DIY, welcome. All right, so we're gonna put our speaker on there. We're gonna slide this side of the logic board in place, and then we're gonna line up our little tabs there, and then push the rest of it in. And so, oh, I forgot to put in the grounding screw. These things can be a little bit finicky if you don't line up the screw perfectly with how it was in previously. I'm really quiet today. Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot. Don't forget the analog board screws as well. I did those. They're all in there. Yeah, analog board's good. Huh. Sorry, folks. I didn't realize my sound was down today. All right, well, we're almost done, so I'm not going to change it now. That might scare the crap out of people further. Okay, so we're going to plug our floppy drive in. And of course, this probably isn't going to boot now that I'm plugging all this junk in, but whatever. Okay, that's there. That's there. We need our SCSI cable. And how do we want to run this SCSI cable? Might need a slightly longer SCSI cable for this. We'll see. So put that in there like that. Yeah, it's gonna fit. It's gonna be a little tight, but it'll go. Oh, any bit says it's also low. All right. Sorry, folks. Okay, well, we're done now. So let's plug this thing in and see if it turns on. Oh, shoot. The power switch was on already. Don't do that. Use my theater voice. Oh, and I don't have anything. There you go. Oh, and that's a 7.5 thing. Let's turn this up. Oof, that's pretty not bright. Let's see if we can adjust our cutoff here. Adjustment tools. 1 second. Sorry, folks. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's better. Turn this down a little bit. Nope, that's too much. Okay, so let's shut this thing down. So it's going to turn on, so that means we're good. I'm gonna close this thing up. No, I think there might have been something that got hit in my thing, but yeah, I'll go back and check it before my next stream. All right, so let's put the back on this. So one thing I just kind of noticed, as you're putting these things together, you want to be real careful to put your case back on, because the screws could potentially scratch the inside. So just be super careful in putting your system back together when using one of these. Okay. Flebnard, welcome. Okay, so we got our machine screws. Oh. Things are not lining up perfectly here. Oh, I'm gonna unlock that a little bit. There we go. Now we're getting them all put back together right. Again, we're just going to use our extension from the iFixit kit. No, we're not going to use the hammer to align things. All right, and just like when we put stuff back together with normal plastics, since I ran the screws through already, there's the thread so we can feel it go in. It's beautiful. Nice job, Garth. Good one. Good. Oh, and I dropped it. Oh, well, it went right to its hole. That's nice. Okay. And since I'm back here, I'm going to pull this out. This is a little far down in there. So we're going to take this SD card out, put this one in. If you see any of these cards on eBay, do not buy them. They are fake. They are very, very fake. This one was advertised as a 1 terabyte. Its actual capacity was 400 megabytes. Okay, so yeah, this looks pretty epic. Let's turn it the right way for people. But yeah, it looks really nice. There is an ever so slight like imperfection in the plastic, but for the most part, they look really cool. I think I might want to, if I put this back together again, I might not leave the plastic on the side. But yeah, that looks pretty nice. So let's boot it up and see what it looks like all in the OS, hopefully. If my System 6 works. Let's put a mouse in there because we're feeling it. Oh, I forgot to put the 4 megs of RAM in. Oh well. Yeah, well, let's put some 1000 watt blue LEDs inside. Okay. So I'm sorry I don't have ways to fix flicker. So avert your eyes if you have any issues with flashing lights. Nice. And you can see our alignment's not too bad in there. Uh-oh. So yeah, we are good to go. This was not too bad of a job. But like I said, you can see this thing is collecting dust at a rapid rate. So have a nice dust cloth if you want to get one of these, like a nice microfiber cloth. So yeah, I kind of want to delve into these floppies and see what they look like inside, but I don't want to jump on Dave's spot just in case he decides to show up. Well, I guess Dave can pop in. So somebody keep an eye on Dave's stuff, and I'm going to start taking apart this floppy. But yeah, let's hold it up next to my face. Let's look. Here we go. Look how pretty. Yeah, this thing's cool. This is very cool. So thank you, MacEffects, for putting these things on sale. That definitely inspired me to want to buy one. Let's give you a view from the back. You can see that awesome little potato phi adapter so that you can get to your micro SD card slot in there. But yeah, I like this view the best, I think, showing that CRT kind of exposed like that. Very cool. All right, let's kill some time before Dave's stream and work on some floppy drives. How's that sound? Does that sound fun? Who doesn't like working on floppy drives? Oh, Gupom, yes, I would love for you to print me out one. So maybe on Dave's stream, I'll just work on floppy drives the whole time because I have a pile here that need stuff done to them. Yeah, Gupom, I asked at the beginning of the stream if anyone has blue filament to print out one of the potato phi things to make it match. That would be epic. All right, so we're going to take these out. You got me, bro. Thanks, bro. Need to remove the paper on the analog board. Yeah, the little plastic thing, that it would be nice to get rid of that and make it look a little better. Or come up with some other, maybe a clear plastic. That might be neat. So that you still have that, because there have been times where that plastic has kind of saved my butt because I forget, and then I then I kind of touch the analog board when it's on. So having that there is very nice. Okay. Okay. So let's zoom in a little bit here. Okay. So you can see these definitely are not the worst drives that anyone has ever taken apart, but they are not the cleanest by any means. And that's the issue with the SE. Since there's a fan, there's always going to be a little bit of air movement through these cases, and anytime you have air movement, you're going to make dirt, or you're going to attack dirt. Let's see here. What camera am I using? I am using my iPhone 12. Yeah, I use software to connect it. Okay, so we're going to start off just getting some of this dirt off the top and off the inside here. I'm not touching the heads right now. I just want to get some of the excess dirt off around this thing. This is the most critical part of the drive, in my opinion, so I always try to be nice to that part of it. The other thing is, a lot of the time the glue that holds this little metal piece will dry out, and that metal piece will fall out, which is another reason why I like to open these up before I turn them on. When you get a compact Mac, don't just power it up. Some people just straight up power it up. Don't power it up. These little metal things can fall off, and then that flops around inside the case. It could short something out. But also, you don't want to power these things up until they're lubricated, because you'll definitely break your cheese gears. Okay, so I just lift up the little tab, then this thing slides out. Yeah, just a semi-rigid clear piece of plastic would work. Okay, so I took that thing off. I can get rid of that little piece of dust right there. Next thing to do is take that spring off there. It should want to stay captive to the top part of the drive. Okay. And now this top part should come off if you can orient it properly. There's like, I don't know, I always have trouble with this part. Like it catches on certain areas and then it gets released from other areas. Okay, there we go. So that's free. Set that aside. And now these four like retention washer kind of things, just kind of pull them up. Try not to mangle them too much because you're going to need them. I don't know if there are places to get these. I have never needed to order them, but I could see how these could get destroyed in this process if you're not super careful. Okay, so now that's off. Oh, we need our Phillips head again to take our eject motor. Nope, the Phillips head goes this way in the screwdriver. Okay, 2 screws there. Lift that up like that, and then unplug it. Oh, oh, look what just happened. Did you catch that? The little metal thing just fell off. So like I said, these things are very prone to falling off, and sometimes you'll get one if you get a SE that is flopping around. You hear, like, you get it and you hear something rattling around in there. That's most likely, this little metal thing is typically the issue. And so we're just going to put it back on with a tiny little bit of super glue in a couple areas. And you can tell which way it was put on because of the pattern. And so this, oops. So this goes there like that. Okay. So now this goes away. And you can see there's lots of nastiness in there. So we're gonna clean that up with some Q-tip. And these, if you're careful and slow, you can just kind of like lift up this side of the head, and you can move them back and forth manually, and then that gives you some space. Yeah, it looks like apple butter. Okay, so you can see we got rid of that old stuff. Let's see, let's get rid of some of the stuff on this side of it. Okay, so now we're gonna just clean it with paper towels around here. So this is likely to be a controversial take. Yeah, you could probably put a lot of these pieces in the ultrasonic cleaner. So when I've been doing this lately, I haven't been using grease. I've only been using oil when I put them back together, and it seems, I don't know, they seem to move very cleanly after I use oil. So I don't know. We'll see how long they hold up. I've only been doing the oil method for like the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, as opposed to grease. Lick it clean. But you want to get all this residual nastiness off of there. I think what we're gonna do is actually use a little isopropanol here. So for oil, I use Mobile One 5W20. It's like a relatively thin oil, and so the reason I use Mobile One is that theoretically the synthetic oils should not evaporate their so like what happens, like why a lot of the lubricants turn into goo is because some of the molecules that are in the oils kind of evaporate out, and so the synthetic oils, that should not happen quite as much, and so it should last a pretty long time. But again, that remains to be seen. I have only been, doing this for a while. That's just my theory, and I could definitely be wrong there. One of the things that might need to be done on these floppy drives is recap them. I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to stick this back together and see what happens. And yeah. And so if you're being super thorough, you can take this whole thing apart and clean all of it. But I'm trying to do a quick one here, just in case Dave randomly pops back in and tells me that his stream's going, because I don't want to stream over Dave. Yeah, so silicone grease, I also, before I started using Mobile One, I used lithium grease. That's supposed to be pretty good on plastics and stuff. So. And when you work on these, do not pull up on here, right? This is meant to be like there, and that's about it. You can kind of do enough to stick a Q-tip down inside, but don't start ganking on that thing, or you can, the spring there is basically just a little piece of copper, and if you bend it, it's bent permanently, and you can't fix your head, basically. There is an actual spring in there too, but the copper does an amazing amount of work. I hope are people keeping an eye on Dave to see if his thing is ready to go. So I'm just using the isopropanol here, and I'm going to come back around and clean the outside of it once I've cleaned the heads. Just want to get all the way around that worm drive, clean this little area out, get all the nastiness off of there. So you go through a lot of paper towels, and I go through a lot of Q-tips. All right, so now, oh, look, I missed spots. This little spot is still dirty, okay? There we go. So now we're gonna put, this is like from RC cars, it just has a nice applicator. So we're gonna put a little oil here, back down at the base of the worm drive motor, and then here, and then on the actual like connector thing. And then over here, there's little brass bushings. Okay. And so I'm just gonna move this. Again, I'm pulling up a little bit in order to move this very clearly. Yeah, so that moves nice and easy now. You can kind of turn the worm drive a little bit. Try to get some of that oil down in there. Yeah, and if this works good, see how I'm able to turn it using the Q-tip? That's how easy these things should go. If you're fighting, it means that there's something wrong. It's binding up somehow. Okay. Oh, man, I got that caught on myself. All right, for this thing, I'm gonna clean it with some that first. Hey, Tech Knight, you missed the fun part, man. No, Steve, please don't. I have enough dirty floppy drives. Although Eric Helgeson was supposed to send me a bunch of PowerMac 6100 power supplies, and he never did, so, you know. I do have an opening in my backlog, not for floppy drives, though. Okay. I don't know, these floppy drives are pretty great. I mean, you know, every once in a while I get one that's totally not recoverable, but for the most part, if you put some work into them, they end up working again. Okay, so now we've got these things apart or cleaned up, right? And so the thing you want to take into consideration here, see the little divot here, the little divot there, the little divot there and there. That's where they ride, and you can actually kind of see that little divot's worn away a little bit. And so when I put these back together, I like to put the oil right on those spots. And now, listen to that. That is nice. Listen to that slide. Slides like a machine. I also tend to put a little bit in here. I don't know if it's totally necessary to put it right there, and right there, and right there, and right there. But we're gonna do it anyway. Who's stopping us? No one can do it. I'm gonna get my tweezers. And then kind of like push on this thing from the sides. And then make sure it's down. And if it's too far down, it'll kind of prevent it from sliding. So make sure it's not too far down. There is a little groove in there that should prevent you from pushing it too far down. It should kind of hit a spot. And you can also kind of pull up on it a little bit just to make sure that you have it in that little slot. Okay. One more of these. All right. So you can see how easily that thing slides now. So that's good. That's where we want it there. This thing is a mess, and that's pretty much par for the course. There will be like caked up grease in here and there. Oh, he makes the retention circles. I don't know what they're called. Okay, and again, we're going to use some isopropanol here to get some of that residual nastiness off of there. Hey, Kate, welcome. All right, so yeah, you can see we're getting rid of some of that residual junk off of around there. And you can push it this way, make sure you get all the residual junk out of that side. Oh, you're talking about the felt pads for the 400K drives, yeah. So this is an 800K drive. The 1.44s are basically the same as these functionally. Yeah, Kate's recent video is really good, so make sure to check that out. If for some reason, if you're here and you haven't, I don't know how you would be here and not have seen Macintosh Librarian's most recent video, but it is very good, as are all of her videos. Okay, so now see all these things, these little barrels. They should turn freely. Okay, if they get kind of gummed up, like that one did not want to turn just now. So what we're gonna do is put a little oil in there, a little oil in there, and a little oil in there, and a little oil in there, and on there. So those are all the little barrels that we need to be well lubricated and moving. They should turn very nicely when you're done. Keep working them. Sometimes it helps if you grab your tweezers or whatever and just work it like that. You need all these things to move very smoothly. Okay, so we're all good on all these. And I'm also going to put a little bit of oil here and there. Just work that a little bit. I also tend to put a little bit right there and a little bit in there. Make sure that this retention mechanism works properly. Okay, so yeah, this is all nice and smooth now. Okay, so now this is always the trickiest part for me, because you need to get everything aligned properly to get it to pop back down where it needs to live. Okay, and you can see over here there's this thing, but you got to get this side in there first. All right, so I think, oh, yeah, nope. That has to go down underneath there. There we go. Okay, so now we're in. Shove the thing into the dealie and you get it. All right, fine. I'll listen to Steve. He is the professional. Okay, we got our spring back on there. And again, you know, this should be retained, but it's always a good idea when you're pulling on these things to just put your finger over top of it in case you drop it so that it doesn't go flying somewhere. There we go. Okay, so now that should be good to go. So let's try this thing. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry, YouTube. What did I forget to do? I forgot to put that little plastic thing back in there. And I just crammed the floppy right into the reed head. You don't want to do that, obviously. Okay. So now, got this little dealie. And you can lift, I like to make sure that, that it's in the bottom position when I put this on so that I'm not accidentally lifting up the head too much. So you slide that on there like that. Okay, and now we're good. So if we take a floppy disk, so that, how easily that moves, that's what you want to hear. I haven't tried these drives, but let's see what this one sounds like. Yeah. See how it's not like going down all the way? Oh God, that's bad. See, this should be all the way back down in there. Oh yeah. Let's do our ASMR insertion. See that nice click? So much click. So click. Much joy. All right, so that's the main drive done. Let's look at our eject gears. Oh, Dave just started. Okay, so we're basically done. We'll test this floppy over on Dave's stream, but I think we're there. But so this just comes off. That comes off pretty easily. Just lift that tab out. Okay, so the thing to look out for here, I don't know if it's coming through. Oh, there you go. You can see it. There's green on the cheese gear. This gear right here is the cheese gear, so it's going to want to fall apart. And so you want to lubricate this thing before you start messing with it. So get some oil down in there. And now, oh yeah, that thing was gonna break immediately. So you can just sort of use your tweezers to turn that cheese gear, to turn the pinion gear, and that'll help work the cheese gear into place. But you can see there's a little bit of green on there, and that is just a little corrosion from the brass of the pinion gear. Yeah. And so if you're lucky, you can get away without replacing your cheese gear, but so yeah, I could scrape that off a little bit. So that should basically be good to go. Sometimes you want to take this apart, and you can clean the contacts here for the switch part, but that's typically not needed. So we're just going to put a little bit of extra goo in there, a little more lubrication for our pinion, and stick this back in there. And so you want to be really careful if you're doing what I'm about to show you. Typically you don't want to do what I'm about to show you, but it is possible. So if you put your thumb on this gear and turn it, you can make everything spin a little bit easier. Okay. So you can see everything's turning. There is a little bit of fuzz in there. Some fuzz can work its way down in there, and so you want to clean that all out before you put it back together. Okay, so that's the drive. That's how you service your drives. Now this thing gets put back in there. We put our screws back on, and we're good to go. So I'm going to head over to Dave's stream. Everyone should go over to Dave's stream, Dave's Vintage Apple Tech, and we'll be over there. Thanks everyone for watching this episode. Thank you for MacEffects for putting that case on sale, because that was a heck of a deal. And I had a lot of fun doing that little project. So have a great week, you all. And I think next weekend we're going to be back with some December action. So yeah, you're definitely going to catch that. All right. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you.